Well, again, welcome everybody for attending today's Pathways to Open Source webinar series. Today, we are focusing on third-party products and that integration with Koha. My name is Kelly McElligott, and I'm here as the Library Accounts Coordinator with Bywater Solutions, and we're going to spend the next 30 minutes talking about this. If you do have questions during this webinar, please feel free to use the chat, and Jesse will be able to answer you. Perfect. Well, again, my name is Kelly, and we're here to talk to you about integrating third-party products with Koha. Let me get my mouse working today. There we go. Just a little bit about Bywater Solutions. If this is your first time hearing about us or, seeing us in a webinar, one of the biggest missions we have is to empower libraries and giving them that flexibility that Koha does through that open source software. Our support team is here to assist through this process. During your migrations to Koha, you will work with our systems team, and we have a picture of just a few of them here on the screen. We've grown a little bit larger than this now, but this is from our last staff retreat. But during your implementation process, one of the things we really delve into is what products you're using in conjunction with your ILS, or potentially what vendors you're using that you'd love to connect through your future ILS, which would be Koha. And our systems team will work with the libraries and be a great support to talk to those vendors and get that information that's needed to make that integration truly seamless and easy for the library. When we think about libraries now, we see a bigger picture. We see lots of resources and products. I was just at a very large library in Helsinki, and the amount of things that they had outside of books, it was just phenomenal. And that's why you need to understand how important it is to have a product such as Koha that can interact with multiple products. Koha can interface with third-party products, and that means that the potential is just limitless on what we can work with. And that's really important to see, that Koha is forward-thinking and looking towards the future and making sure that your library is getting the best it can get within that ILS, but also what can reach your patrons in a different way. It's a lot of, fancy words here, but we're going to delve into a lot of what this says. Koha acts as a Z39. So our U server is SIP2 compliant. If anything, you do not need to remember these words, but as we extend on the third-party products that we're working with, you'll start to see, hey, I'm looking at this new vendor. And if you see they work with SIP2, then Koha works with SIP2. So kind of just little tidbits of information that will help you in the future and what you're looking to do with your library, in the future of your library. So let's dig into those third-party products that Koha currently connects to. We can start with your account management. So the ability to track and have patrons pay what they owe in the system. We work with PayPal, Nelnet, Unique Management Services, Comprise Technologies, Fizz, and PayGov. This list is just this list seems to get larger and larger when we know that there are other vendors out there that we need libraries to work with. We're happy to expand this. This is kind of the beauty of the Koha system and that open source vendor agnostic system that we work with, is the ability to continuously expand. So right now, these are the opportunities that we work with, but of course, who knows what will be in 3 to 6 or 9 months. Our ever important electronic resources to our patrons. I'm a huge advocate of EResources, and this tells you what EResource vendors, so ebook vendors or EResources vendors that we work with through the OPAC. Cloud Library, Overdrive, Hoopla, and Recorded Books all have connectivity with APIs, meaning that your patrons will never have to leave the OPAC to find the books that are available with these vendors. Imagine being able to search that book and see that your library has it in print and large print, but also it's available through Cloud Library, and that you just saved yourself that another search in another platform. And that's how Koha will be able to interact and have that real-time results to your electronic resources right within the catalog. In addition, your patrons will be able to see the checkouts through these ebook vendors. So they'll be able to see the checkouts they have with those physical items in your collection, as well as the EResources they have as well. They can place holds, they can search, and they can check out. Headed over to the staff area. The first two were patron focused. Now we're going to work with cataloging. I was thinking about this webinar and the kind of the future growth. What I love to think about is we're kind of expediting our staff workflows, giving them better tools to get through that kind of those tasks that can be expedited, allowing them to explore other areas, to help patrons in the community, to push out programs and be able to be present in those programs and not worry about those records that they have to catalog. So, the ability to import and edit MARC records, we connect through OCLC Connection. If you are an OCLC Connection user, you can directly export that record you're looking at on your screen right into your Koha system. You will also have the ability to download several records from OCLC Connection and import them into Koha. You have the connection to SkyRiver, BTCat, MARC Edit. There is a direct connection right to MARC Edit if you wanted to pull out some records, manipulate those records using MARC Edit for things that truly are not possible through Koha. But let me tell you, there's a lot of record modifications that are possible through Koha. And then finally, Library Thing. So we're really looking at the ways that libraries are using these other vendors and how they can integrate right into Koha. Again, expediting those processes. Oops, we went right back to the beginning. We're so excited. We want to talk about it all over again. And we've gone back again. Okay, here we go. We're back. For those libraries that are looking for authentication options, the ability to allow your either staff or your users to authenticate and validate their library information through potentially single sign-on options or Shibboleth or Okta, those integrations are available right into Koha. We currently work with Active Directory, Banner, SAML, Google Authentication, LDAP, and CAS. Again, this is the ability to authenticate as well as automate those patron import processes for those academics or libraries that are looking for a way to import those patrons as well as authenticate. It's a fantastic opportunity to really, secure up those access to, libraries and your staff client. Now, this is the longest list that we have today. So know that this list I don't believe is really all the way up to date, although I tried to do my research. If there are libraries out there that are not aware of what EDI ordering is, it is a way to standardize your electronic ordering and allow for your orders to be sent directly over to Koha without having to do the heavy lifting, as we could say, really. It would allow your libraries to place those orders with these vendors, and then that order is sent over to Koha, and those invoices are sent back over to Koha. So there's a lot of automated processes that you do not have to be part of. It is kind of a set it and forget it. Now, the great thing about how Koha works with this specific and others specific vendor-specific processes, everyone's a little different. So Koha has created, and our developers have created specific plugins for each vendor. So it really is customized with what the vendor is looking for in every order and invoice, and really getting into those details. Whether you're working with Baker and Taylor, Brodart, Ingram, Midwest Tape, processes vary the same. However, what each of those vendors are doing with that information varies a little bit. And so Koha actually has several different individualized plugins for each of these vendors. What's great about that, if that vendor has changed or tweaked a couple of settings, it's very easy for us to go specifically into that plugin and make those changes, which really expedites the process of making sure that those orders and invoices are being received efficiently. Again, this is a list that continues to grow as libraries explore the ability to truly expedite, make processes efficient, and have the ability to not have errors in process. If all this is being done electronically and through background processes, then the ability is kind of off.
I think we might have lost Kelly for a second there. But what she was alluding was just that the EDI ordering process really allows things to evolve quickly for staff, simplifying workflows, and making that process a lot easier to communicate back and forth with your vendor. We'll give Kelly just 1 second to join us back in our session, and then we'll continue with our integrations. As we wait for Kelly, I'll keep talking and just talking about some of the integrations that we have. So the next one is messaging and phone notifications. We know how important it is to reach our patrons and customers, letting them know about information that's available and ready for them at the library. So whether it's a notification to let them know that a hold is available for pickup, or maybe it is notification to let them know that an item is due back at the library. Koha integrates seamlessly with Twilio, Shoutbomb, Itiva, and or Unique to get that message directly to your patrons. How many of us always have our cell phone with us, right? Whether we're driving to the grocery store or picking our child up, or maybe running an errand. If you get that message while you're out that something is ready for pickup at the library, this is a great way to reach your customers and your patrons and let them know that that information is available and ready for you. With this integration, we'll work directly with your staff to set up the information within the Koha system. Within your tools module in Koha, you also have the ability to customize these messages. So messages can be customized at the level of both emails, of course, and then with text messages and with automated phone calls. So this is a nice way, again, that you can customize these messages that go directly out to your patrons and customers. And each of those can be given their own little piece of customizations that you can reach them. The next thing we'll talk about is integrated services. Now, we work with several different partners here that integrate services for cloud-based applications. Now, this could be anything from a marketing messaging system that gets sent out. One common one that we work with is Patron Point. They have several subscriptions that you can use for things like the top 5, where you talk about the things that are going on at your library, or just customizing and marketing emails. This is one way that we can pull the data out of your Koha system to send to those third-party products. MyLibro, Solus, and Communico are all other products and vendors that we work with in order to keep that communication moving forward. These integrated services are generally set up through Koha's direct API, which allows them to retrieve that information out of the Koha system and send over to that third-party product. At Bywater Solutions, of course, we'll work directly with your library staff and the vendor to make sure they are getting the correct information. We'll work with you to set up the API credentials, providing those permissions to the vendors, making sure they only get the information that is needed right within the system. As Kelly has been mentioning throughout this entire webinar today, if there is a vendor that you work with that you don't see listed here, this allows you to, again, work one-on-one with Bywater or your vendor and communicate what you would like to have connected to your Koha system. Again, Koha has so many API calls that we can connect to. We're always looking for opportunities to work with new vendors so we can seamlessly integrate your system. The next thing we'll talk about is self-service. Many of our library partners have some type of either self-checkout system. Maybe you have gates that are set up within your library, RFIDs, kiosks, material handler systems, whatever it may be. We can work together to, again, connect your system to Koha. Some of the library vendors that we have worked with include Biblioteca, Cassie, Envisionware, FE Technologies, MeScan, MK Solutions, and of course, TechLogic. Typically, these are SIP or SIP2 connections that we set up with your Koha system in order to connect directly to those self-service products. Again, we have a really good relationship with a lot of these vendors. So during your implementation process, when you're moving to Koha, we will work directly with your library and the vendor to make sure that these products are connected for day one. If you're a current Koha user and you're thinking about setting up, let's say, RFID or self-check machines, again, you can submit a ticket, reach out to us, and we will work directly with you and the vendor to set those self-service points up within the system. Our next topic is, of course, one that always gets people excited, ILL, or Interlibrary Loan Services. Whether it's through a statewide service or you're part of a consortium, ILL can be supported within your Koha system through multiple targets, whether you use a Z3950 call or integration with a ILL product. Koha is in SIP, that's NCIP compliant. We use that protocol to connect to several different ILL services. You can see up here on the screen some that we have connected to in the past: Clio, Iliad Realis, which is part of the OCLC realm, InReach, which is part of III or Innovative, Navigator, which is an OCLC product, Share It, which is a product of Autographics, and that is typically a statewide program. And then, of course, Easy Borrow, which is a Northeastern product that lots of libraries use for interlibrary loan. What we'll do is we will set up those connections to the third-party products. Each of them are a little bit different, but in some aspects, what we'll do is we'll set those up. You will have a ILL patron category and an ILL item type, as well as an ILL framework within your system. And that allows you to essentially create that information in your Koha system so you can keep track of that ILL, whether you're a borrower or a receiver. What's fantastic is you can then, of course, report upon that information within Koha. You can keep track of the information of what your users have or have borrowed. And then, of course, you can also do things like suppress things from the OPAC or your discovery system, and just really customize it for both staff and your patrons. Well, if you have been following us throughout our web series for our pathways this past few months, we have our next session for Koha that is coming up on September 26th at 2 p.m. Eastern, and that is an introduction to Koha, where we'll cover just the basics of what your Koha system is for you. The next session we have, Why Open Source, that will be on October 18th at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you have any questions or you're interested in learning more about Koha, or if you would like to set up a quick demo to see what Koha is, we would be happy to set that up for you. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar series on connecting third-party products. Again, if you are interested in attending one of our next upcoming webinars, we'll share that link directly in the chat box. We'd love to see you next time. Thank you again for joining us, and please feel free to reach out with any questions. Have a great day. Yes, we will be sending out a recording and the slides to anyone who has registered for this webinar. Have a great day.